Pat Byrd is the executive director of Fair Districts in Georgia, a nonpartisan organization that works to end electoral map rigging in Georgia. The League works closely with fair districts to advocate for redistricting reform based on the census as well as the mid-cycle redrawing of electoral district lines. Pat's dream, she says, is for every citizen to vote in elections locally and nationally, and for us to become a post-voter suppression country. We thank Pat for sharing this quick introduction to gerrymandering and the update on where redistricting legislation stands leading up to the 2021 Georgia legislative session.
What I've been asked to talk about was redistricting in Georgia in 2021. And the danger of asking me to talk about that is that I'm going to talk about that. What I'm going to do is just start off with a couple of definitions and then some things, issues that we're going to have to deal with. Okay, right. First, reapportionment. Just remember that reapportionment is based in the U.S. Constitution in Article 1, Section 2, where it says that representatives shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union according to their respective numbers. And what that works out to now is that by law, the House of Representatives is limited to 435 representatives. You know, obviously it can be changed. That was done in something, about 1920? And it would make better sense as our population goes up to have more representatives, but that would give somebody else more power and somebody else less power, and the likelihood of getting that taken care of is remote. The other excuse is they don't have enough chairs in the House to take anybody else in. And that, of course, is kind of weird, too. So right now, 435 representatives. There are a small number of non-voting representatives for places like Washington, D.C. The 435, though, there are states that have only one representative because they have such small population. And those are Alaska, Delaware, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Vermont, and Wyoming. So after we take out those 7, there are 428 to be divided among 43 states. Georgia, with our population growing, has gotten more representatives recently. The estimates are, the projections are that we will not get more this time. But now redistricting happens as a result of reapportionment. So redistricting is when you create or reshape the districts after the census. So they could be adding or removing, like New York State is likely to lose a representative because its population is shifting west, adding or removing or adjusting seats in the House of Representatives. So the districts have to change and the shapes of them change. And then there are at the same time a reshaping of state level districts. So reapportionment is in the Constitution. A result of that is redistricting. Gerrymandering is the evil sibling of redistricting and reapportionment. Gerrymandering is the power of a particular party to create districts that enhance and protect its own power, that's used to punish enemies, and also to punish unfaithful party members. That's one of the ways they hold people in doing what the party wants them to do, is if you're not nice, if you don't play, we'll draw a line that puts your house some other district and you're out of there. The other uses of gerrymandering to diminish the political power of another group. So protect yourself and diminish the other. Let's get at the very beginning. So where we are now, and then going backwards in time. And then toward the end, and here, this is the way it stayed from 1933 to 1964. So there was no sense on the part of the powers that be that there was any need to make changes. Is there another map you'd like to see? You folks from Savannah? So that's where we are now.
Oh my goodness.
Some of those do look a little suspect. So this is ACLU's map. It goes through 2018, and it's called What's the District? So if you're interested in looking these up or showing them to people at your programs, it's a really nifty tool. Now, just a fast look at some congressional maps as a whole. This 2002, and it didn't last long. 2002 was the point where Republicans were coming into power and all these Democrats were becoming Republicans. I was told by a staffer at that time that they laughingly called this one, the pink one, the hand of death. But all of these, so in 2002, this is where we are now with these long kind of narrow ones here. Part of what happens in Georgia, of course, is we've got these huge areas in the south and the north that have low populations. Those districts get almost unmanageable. They're so big. Think about trying to run for election there or take care of the needs of their constituents that are really scattered in all of those areas. And the other thing that happens with maps when you're looking around on Twitter and places is that people can draw their own versions of what they'd like the maps to be. And a lot of what's happening in the legal world is drawing neutral kinds of maps to see how those compare to what we have or what's being planned. And what happens is that pockets of African Americans might be moved out, and pockets of white might be moved in to protect the incumbent in that area. And that's pretty much what happened here. But of course, it ended up not really holding very long because Almighty Holly finally won in that district. So gerrymandering in Georgia. Now we got to remember that first the Democrats did it, and now the Republicans are doing it. It's a thing that the guys, when they get power, that's the way they do. One of the differences, though, is that Georgia is now a true two-party state. So before the Democrats did it, but the Democrats had all the power, and now the Republicans, so they were doing it to each other. Now the Republicans do it, and they're using it to try to control this onslaught of Democratic power that's coming along. And Georgia, like a few other states, I think Texas can do this too, can change districts anytime they want to. So every single session, if they want to, they can try to trim them and make them look better, especially the state level Senate and House districts. In 2015, the changes were made to District 111. We just looked at those, and 105 to protect the incumbents. Since 2001, 97 mid-cycle gerrymanders were attempted, and 64 of them passed and were done. So it's not uncommon. It's